I always thought the scariest thing about New York City was the subway at midnight until I realized someone was following me through the park. Not with footsteps, not with shadows, but with eyes. Eyes that didn't just look at me, they pierced straight through, as if peeling away everything I tried to hide. I told myself I was paranoid. I mean, who would waste their time stalking a guy like me? 23, broke, and barely keeping up with college. The most exciting thing about me was that I could make instant ramen in under 3 minutes. But then, on that chilly October evening, the whisper came. Soft, broken, like the wind had learned my name, Eli. My heart stopped. Nobody should have known I cut through Prospect Park at that hour. Nobody should have known my name. And yet, there it was, gentle, haunting, and terrifyingly close. I spun around, ready to confront whoever was playing this sick joke. That's when I saw him. He leaned against the lamppost like he'd been waiting there for centuries. His hair caught the orange glow of the streetlight, messy but deliberate, as if chaos suited him. Hazel eyes watched me with a hunger I couldn't name. A leather jacket clung to him like a second skin, and in that moment, he looked less like a stranger and more like a question I'd been avoiding all my life. "You dropped this," he said, holding out my notebook. My heart nearly collapsed into my stomach. I hadn't even realized it had fallen from my bag. But it wasn't the notebook that froze me. It was his voice, that same whisper, the one that had just called my name. I should have walked away. Hell, I should have run. But instead, I just stood there, shivering from more than the cold. "Who are you?" I asked, though my voice betrayed how unsteady I felt. His smile was faint, almost sad. "Does it matter?" "Yes," I snapped, though it came out weaker than I wanted. You said my name. How the hell do you know my name?" He stepped closer, and I swear the entire world went quiet, as if the city itself leaned in to hear his answer. "Because I've been watching you for a long time." Every instinct screamed at me to bolt. Every headline about missing kids or late-night murders flashed in my mind. And yet, my feet stayed planted. Not because I trusted him. No, because something in his tone wasn't threatening, it was desperate. The following nights, I tried to avoid the park. I even took the long way around, nearly doubling my commute home. But the universe, or maybe fate, had a cruel sense of humor. I saw him again, at the coffee shop near campus, at the corner bookstore where I escaped between classes, at the subway platform, just as the doors were closing. Always near, never too close. Watching, waiting, and God help me, instead of fear, something else began to grow inside me. Curiosity, pull I couldn't ignore. It came to a breaking point one Friday evening. I was leaving the library, exhausted, when I found him sitting on the steps, as if he belonged there. He wasn't even pretending this time. "You're following me," I accused, the words sharper than the truth I was trying to bury. "Yes," he admitted without hesitation. That threw me off. No excuses, no denial. Just the brutal honesty of someone who had nothing left to lose. "Why?" My voice cracked. His eyes softened. "Because you're the only person who's ever looked at me like I exist. There are moments in life that split you into before and after." Hearing those words was mine. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or scream. Instead, I sat beside him against every ounce of common sense. Up close, he wasn't the monster I'd painted in my head. His features were sharp but tired, as if he carried the weight of 100 sleepless nights. And those hazel eyes, God, they weren't hungry. They were lonely. "My name's Noah," he said finally, breaking the silence. Noah. The name felt like both a warning and a promise. We started talking cautiously at first. He told me bits and pieces. That he'd grown up in foster homes, never really belonging anywhere. That the park had been his escape since he was a kid. That he had seen me once, years ago, when I was laughing with my friends under the autumn leaves, and something in that moment had tethered him to me. It sounded insane. It was insane. And yet, something in the way he told it broken, earnest, made it impossible to dismiss. "I don't want to scare you," he said one night as we sat on a bench, the city lights blinking in the distance. "But I can't stay away. You're the only thing that feels real." And damn it, against all logic, against every rational bone in my body, I didn't want him to stay away either. But reality has a way of catching up. My friends noticed me disappearing, skipping plans. My roommate asked why I came home smelling like cigarettes when I didn't smoke. I brushed them off with lies, but inside, I knew I was spiraling into something dangerous. Because Noah wasn't just a stranger. He was a secret, one I wasn't sure I could keep forever. And yet, when his hand brushed against mine on a cold November night, I didn't pull away. Instead, I let my fingers linger, just long enough to admit what I couldn't say out loud. That maybe, just maybe, I wanted to be seen by him too. I thought falling for Noah would feel like freefall, terrifying, reckless, impossible to stop. Instead, it felt like suffocating underwater, both drowning and craving the burn in my lungs. The truth broke one night, like glass shattering between us. We'd been walking the Brooklyn Bridge, the cold wind whipping around us, when I finally demanded it. Noah, why me? Why really? Don't give me the poetic crap about how I'm the only person who looked at you. Tell me the truth. He froze, eyes flickering with something dark, something that made me ache before he even spoke. I knew your brother, he whispered. The world tilted. My brother, Daniel. The one who died 3 years ago in a car accident. The one whose ghost I'd been running from ever since. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. That's impossible. But Noah's gaze didn't waver. I was there that night. I saw it happen. And I saw you at the funeral. You looked like you'd forgotten how to breathe. And his voice cracked. I couldn't walk away. I kept thinking, if I could keep you from breaking the way he broke, maybe I'd make up for not saving him. My body went cold. He hadn't just been following me. He had been orbiting my grief, orbiting me all this time. Do you have any idea how messed up that is? I snapped, though the tears in my throat betrayed me. You've been what? Stalking me? Because of guilt. Noah's jaw tightened, but his eyes shone with a rawness I couldn't ignore. At first, yes, but then, it wasn't about him anymore. It was about you. And there it was, the truth that both destroyed me and anchored me in the same breath. The days after that revelation were chaos. I ignored his calls. I blocked his number. I threw myself into schoolwork, parties, anything that would keep me from hearing his voice in my head. But New York is cruel and fate is crueler. I saw him everywhere. On the subway platform, across the street, in the park where it all began. Sometimes he didn't even try to hide, he just stood there, watching me with eyes that said everything words couldn't. And I hated him for it. I hated him for knowing my brother, for carrying the weight of that night when I hadn't even been there, for forcing me to look at grief I'd buried so deep it had rotted inside me. But more than anything, I hated him for making me feel alive again. It all came to a head on a stormy December night. I'd gone to the park alone, the same path where I first heard my name whispered in the dark. The rain came down in sheets, soaking me to the bone, but I didn't care. I just wanted the city to wash me clean. Eli, his voice called, faint over the storm. I spun, and there he was, running toward me, water dripping down his face, hair plastered to his forehead. He looked less like the ghost who haunted me and more like a boy, just a boy afraid of losing the only thing that tethered him to the world. Go home, Noah, I shouted over the thunder. No, his voice cracked, raw and defiant. Not until you hear me out. Lightning lit up the sky, casting his features in stark relief. I loved your brother, he said, each word a dagger and a prayer. Not the way I love you, but I cared. And when he died, something in me broke. Seeing you broken in your own way was like looking in a mirror. And I thought if I could keep you from falling apart, maybe I'd save us both. I shook my head, tears mixing with the rain. You can't save me, Noah. You can't even save yourself. He stepped closer, trembling, his voice trembling with him. Maybe not, but I can love you. Isn't that worth something? And God help me, goddamn, May wanted to believe him. We stood there, soaked and shivering, as if the storm had been summoned just for us. And then, without thinking, without breathing, I closed the space between us. His lips were warm despite the rain, desperate and soft all at once. It wasn't a perfect kiss, it was messy, broken, almost painful, but it was real. For the first time in years, I felt something real. When we pulled apart, I rested my forehead against his. "You terrify me," I admitted. "I terrify myself," he whispered back. Healing wasn't instant. Love never is. The weeks that followed were messy. My friends didn't understand. My roommate called him dangerous. And sometimes, when I looked at Noah too long, I still saw the shadows of my brother in his eyes. But then he'd smile, small, tired, and so achingly human, and the shadows would fade. We started over, slowly. Coffee instead of confessions. Long walks instead of late-night hauntings. And with each moment, I learned who he was beyond the grief, beyond the desperation. He was stubborn, sarcastic, tender in ways that scared him. He loved old music and hated elevators. He carried his past like a scar but reached for the future anyway. And maybe that was enough. Spring came, and the city softened with it. One evening, we sat on our bench in Prospect Park, watching the sun sink behind the trees. The same place where it all began, where the eyes had followed me, where the whisper had called my name. Only now, those eyes weren't strangers. They were Noah's. And the whisper wasn't haunting. It was love. "Eli," he said softly, fingers brushing against mine. "Yeah, I don't want to follow you anymore." His voice broke a little. "I want to walk beside you." The old ache in my chest loosened, like someone had finally unlocked a door I'd been banging on for years. I turned to him, really looked at him, the boy who had been both my ghost and my salvation, and I smiled. "Then stop whispering," I said, threading my fingers through his. "Say my name out loud." His breath hitched. "Eli." And for the first time, it didn't sound like a haunting. Sounded like home. That night, as the park lights flickered on and fireflies danced in the dusk, I realized something. Maybe love isn't about saving each other. Maybe it's about seeing the wreckage, the scars, the shadows, and choosing to stay anyway. And as Noah's hand tightened around mine, as his eyes finally looked at me not with desperation but with hope, I knew we had chosen each other. Not because of grief, not because of ghosts, but because even in a city of millions, even in the darkest corners of the park, we had found each other. And that was enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.